So for this effect, we're going to continue on with this sequence. And I don't know about you, but through all this video, how cool it looks, we need a kind of message. And what I want to do is put here something like drive the dream or something. Okay, stick with me. But where I want it, I'm just going to mute this for now, is I kind of want it to come up about here, because that's the end of our footage, and I want the footage to kind of fade off as the text becomes more there. You know, it's like part of the story. But what I need to do first is I need to shorten the music, and to do that, I'm just going to do it nice and manually. I'm going to play through. I've done this before, but yeah, I'm going to play through until I hear a beat that I can possibly go with. In fact, I'm going to go to the end and see how long I can kind of play with. Let's remind ourselves, sorry, firstly, where the music kind of is at this point. Okay, so it's still kind of dirty and gritty. What's it like by the time we get to the end? Because I want to use this end. This end goes, which is quite cool. Maybe we can use this so it kind of comes into that kind of effect once we get the reveal. Let's get a clean like bar. It may be too long, but let's maybe, you know, back here, let's see if we can give ourselves options. I've made a cut there right on that beat. It might not be actually accurate, but it's a starting position. So let's get back here and let's see if we can find a beat around. Well, we made the beat, so let's have a listen. So it's that boom. Probably about there, actually. I know the mark is there, but I think it's possibly around there. Just going to select that audio, the music, and just going to cut. Yeah, it is. There's that beat right there. So let's get back and let's delete this, and let's grab this guy and bring it back here. That looks like the timing might be okay, actually, because we've still got a bit at the end. If I marry these up to here, yeah, okay. Let's see if that kind of mix is okay. Take it back to right here. It works even better, doesn't it? Because it's even clear. Oh yeah, nice. I like where we're going with this. Okay, so where do I want the text to come in? Probably around there as the drone starts to lift. So how do I do this? Well, I want to have enough until the end here. I want enough space to be able to play, but the video ends here, and we're going to take this again into After Effects. So how do I make sure I've got enough? Well, first and foremost, we're going to cut there because that's where we want to start our After Effects, and I'm just going to duplicate this up. Okay, we don't have the adjustment layer anymore because that's here, and if I turn that off, we've got this. Remember when we placed that in? But we don't need it for After Effects because all we're going to do is we're going to bring back the visual, the graphics, not the video. So we just need that as a guide, really. I'm going to bring that up another track because I'm also going to bring in a color matte. Now, don't forget, you can right click, new item, and color matte, but I'm going to just bring in this white matte that I already have. Why am I doing that? Well, because I want to extend it past and into here. And the reason for that is, and I've never seen anyone do this, it's just a kind of a workaround that I built into my workflow. And the reason why is because if I just right clicked this and went into After Effects, our composition in After Effects would be this length, but I want it this length. Now what I could do is I could go into that, do that, and then change the sequence settings and add more time. But this way, I know I've got exactly enough time. In fact, I'm going to bring it past a little bit more just to give me a bit of room, because I might have to put an effect on the end of this because it fades out, but not slow enough for me. So let's deal with one thing at a time. And the color matte and the video together, we're going to select them both. We're going to right click and we're going to replace with After Effects composition. brings it back into After Effects. Let me just go back in and show you. It's now compressed those two into one, kind of like a nest. And here they are in there. So as I said, it would have stopped there. That would have been the length of our composition. Whereas with the color mat now, we have all of this as well. Okay, I'm actually going to hide that. In fact, I'm going to delete the color mat because we don't need it. And as I come back past here, you'll see we have an alpha. We have the transparency at the back. If there's no transparency, it will be black when it comes back into here. If I go over to here now, you can see it's black. If I undo that and come back in here, give it a second to update. Go on, don't make a liar of me. Let me save that. Yeah, it would help if I actually turn on that layer because I'd hidden it. Come back and we're white, okay? But we don't need it. Just delete that out and we're laughing. So let me go back to fit and we're going to start this effect with the right on effect. So first and foremost, we need some text. So just like you would in Premiere Pro, you'd go to the type tool there. We're going to do that here. So we're going to grab our type tool there and I'm just going to click in anywhere. You can see it creates an empty text layer and we're going to write drive the dream. It helps you if you can spell all right. Drive the dream. Okay. So first and foremost, let's get that centered. So if you go to paragraph and center that takes it over there. By the way, again, if the things that I click in here aren't here, they will be available in Windows to toggle on so they do show here. Then we're going to go to align and we're going to align it centered for the composition. So that'll come back in the middle. You can see that our anchor point right here is kind of not centered, but that doesn't really matter for now. If you did want to move the anchor point up here, this is your anchor point tool, pan behind it's called, and you could just move it around wherever you want. We've got that centered now. Something to also bear in mind, in the free version of Animation Composer, remember how that looked? This is the After Effects version of Premiere Composer. Within the pack, which is free, I highly recommend you get it because it's so helpful. Even the starter presets and all that, which you can use to your heart's content. But there's also Anchor Point Mover, which is this little fella. And if I just dock this down here, it normally lives down here. And if I select this, you see where my anchor point is there? With these arrows, I can move that anchor point. So if I press right, it goes over to the right, bottom middle, bottom right. You get the picture. So that's really handy if you ever need that. And as I said, it's completely free. Check your the course outline links at the bottom of there. I would not sell you short. I say sell, it's free. So just get it. It's so handy. So with this text, we need to change. I want to change the font first. I want it to have like a kind of a handwritten effect. I need to highlight this text first if we want to change that. And that doesn't work. I want some kind of handwritten. I know this is going off the screen, but it's just the way I'm recording my screen. Could that work? Maybe. Can I do a fake bold? Well, that might work. Yeah, I like that. And what I'm looking for is a couple of things. First, that if it looks good. Secondly, I'm looking at the thickness of the stroke, because that's something to really bear in mind with this effect, because we're going to write it on the screen, but we're going to use this. Honestly, it's a great technique, and I haven't seen it that many places. I'm just going to play with this alignment just to make sure I'm absolutely happy with it. And we're going to place that there. So as we're coming along, that just stays, and then that's going to go out. Okay, cool. Don't forget, this is just a guide. We can hide this now because we don't need it. And we're going to turn off our alpha channel so we can see this properly. So how are we going to write this on? Well, this is where the pen tool comes in brilliantly. Okay, bear with me with this. It's quite a laborious task. And just, if you haven't noticed this already, some of the most effective effects, even though they may only last for about 2 or 3 seconds, take a long time. But being able to do this, it will help you with so many other things by writing with the pen tool. This kind of exercise really helps. So what do? Okay, well, we've got our graphics, our text, which is technically a graphic layer, selected, and we're going to click on the pen tool. Okay, what I often do is I will tilde to make it a little bit bigger so I can see. I will also hold down Alt and use that to zoom in, and don't forget spacebar to move around. And then what we're simply going to do is we're going to draw or trace the text. Now it does take a little bit of thought because you've got to think about how your pen would pass over the text. But it's keeping that in mind. And obviously, as you can see, I'm working with the pen tool in a way that I would, because I'm quite experienced with the pen tool. But you could literally just go click, 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 click all the way around if you didn't want to do any Bezier curves, which is what these are, or anything like that. I just find it kind of, I don't know, it speeds up the workflow for me and also helps with the actual animation, but you can do whichever way you want. The reason why I haven't really talked through that is because I wanted to get to this point, because we've got to think about how the pen would be writing on. So it will go like down here and then round to do the drive. Don't click at them, around to do the drive. However, then we want to get over to the R, and what we don't want, let me just get back to the pen tool. What we don't want is to draw a stroke across here. Not that it would, because this effect is going to be revealing the text, but just to make it cleaner, we just don't want to. So what we do at this point is, if we clicked over here, we draw a path all the way along. Okay, so I'm going to Control Z there, and to close off that and start a new path, you hold down Control. You see how that changes, and just click anywhere. Okay, these little sizing boxes come back, and you can tell that everything's fine because we've got the little dots and everything's good. Also, to draw your attention to the fact that this is a brown line. So this is, remember when it was selecting the colors, when we were masking out all the different shapes in the content aware fill? Well, that started brown. So I've pressed Control and click to come out of that one. I'm going to start a new mask, and let's just see. We're now like a dark green. See how it's changed color? That will help us if we need to change anything. I'm going to Control click again because I've done the R. I's are quite tricky because you've got to think, am I going to dot the I at the end of the letter or dot the I at the end of the word? I often do it at the end of the word just to almost give it a little bit more, I don't know, realism. So I've Control and clicked again. Let's get these all finished. We've now gone to a yellow mask. So this is really adding to the color. I'm going to do that there, and Control click. I'm going to do the V. We've now got a light blue. I know I don't necessarily need to keep on telling you, but as you can see that the mask colors are changing. And then Control click, and then I know there's no hole there with the E, but I'm just going to imagine there is one, just to get that pen movement right. And we go into the E and we finish it. And then we go over. No, we don't. We Control click to get out of there. And then we need to do the dot. And the dots for me, I just do a couple of clicks all the way around it. It will probably just appear as a dot, but I just make sure I get the whole of the dot. Okay, let's just tilt it out here and let's just show what we have so far. So if I go into here and I click M, that's all our masks. So see how they're all different colors? They're all coloring themselves as we go along. That's what we want because they're all different mask paths. Honestly, it will become, if it's not getting kind of clear for you, it will become clear. So there's the first word. So let's just move on and let's just get the rest of the words done and all the letters following the same thing that we've done with drive. I thought I'd save your sanity and skip ahead. So as you can see, we have all of these letters written out. If I tilde out and look at all the masks, we have all those masks. So what do we do now? Okay, well, I'm going to go fit. And what we want to do is we want to add a stroke to this, because right now, all this is a piece of text with masked paths drawn all the way through it. So what we could do is we come over to effects and presets and we search for stroke. And it's none of these. We want to generate a stroke. Okay. So we grab this and we can either drop it on there or we drop it on the graphic and nothing changes other than up here in our effects controls. That rings a bell. Yeah, it does. Effects controls. Yeah. So the effects controls over here, we've got project here and we have effects controls, and the effects controls will be different depending on what we have selected here. Here we have, even though it's footage we're not going to be using, when we used Adobe Dynamic Link to bring it over to After Effects, it also brought over the lumetri color, the color editing, the color effect grading that we put on here. If I turn that off, you can see that that was the original footage. So it's good to bear that in mind, that After Effects will bring over everything that it can really from Premiere Pro. Don't need that anyway. So we're going to go back to Drive the Dream and we have our effects controls. So we have our stroke in here. So first and foremost, we want to apply this stroke to all masks. So we check that on and we want to stroke sequentially. So that means in order. If we go into here and press M, mask path 1 is this one. Mask path 2 is this one. As we go down, look at the M here. As I click mask 15, it goes to squares. So that's the one that's being affected. So it's sequentially. So it's going through each path individually. What we see as letters, sees it as paths, because that's what we've done. We've created paths for them all. Just close that up for now. And what we want to do is we first need to brush onto it, but not physically. We've already done that. And because this is white, we're going to change the brush color. Okay. So we're going to change the color maybe just to a red, just so I can see. If I zoom in now, you can see that this path now has a red because that's what we've drawn. Don't worry. You see all this angle here and all that. It doesn't matter, because what we're not doing, we're going to be animating the paths, but we're not going to be using it as a brush. I'll show you. Firstly, we need to size up the brush so the brush covers all the text, or as much of the text as you can really, which is why we changed the color, because if you were trying to size up a white on white, you wouldn't be able to see a thing. So I'm just going to twirl this down a bit, because you know me, I love a slider, and I'm just going to size it up until all of it is gone. That's all the white gone. Don't worry about it actually covering up here. That's no problem at all. So that's our brush. Okay. There's only another couple of things we need to do, and that is, rather than paint style, we're not on original image. We want to reveal original image. In this case, it's a graphic. So reveal original image, the red will go and the white will come back. Okay. The white isn't baked in, bear in mind. The white comes back because we're now revealing it all with the path. We can go to character and change that color even to like green if we want to. Look, done, green. But we're going to leave it at white because we're eventually going to come out of the video onto black and the white will really stand out. So finally, what we need to do is we need to keyframe. Yes, our favorite friend. And what we need to keyframe is the end of the stroke. Shall I show you what we're actually doing? We've said all masks and we've said stroke sequentially. Well, the end is at 100%. If I get the slider and start pulling it back, look how it's writing backwards in as much as it's taking it all off. Do you get what we've done now? We've given it all the paths to write it out. So we're right at the beginning of our text right here. If I bring this back on, it'll just show it a little bit more. Right at the beginning. And we want to be written by the end. Okay. So I want to be kind of all the way in by say about here. Okay. So first and foremost, I'm going to come here and I'm going to add a keyframe here at the end. So that's 100%. Okay. Then we're going to bring this back. Before we do, I'm just going to select this and press U on the keyboard. Remember to reveal keyframes, because we've added one. We can now see it's brought up the stroke at the end at 100%. I'm going to bring this right the way back to the beginning. And I'm going to take the end all the way to 0 and let go. And now, if we play that forward from the beginning, it goes from 0 to 100. How good is that? How good is that? Now, there's just one more thing I want to do, and I want to ease it a little bit. Let me just get rid of the video for now. And I want to ease this, because this, if you remember, we have linear and non-linear keyframes. And as you can see, because this is a diamond, this is linear. Remember when we were in Premiere Pro and any kind of keyframe, we right-clicked and temporal inflation, ease out, ease in. Well, there's a really easy way to do that, excuse the pun, easy way to do that in After Effects. And that is select the two keyframes that you want to ease between and press F9 and watch them. We get little timers. And that means it's easy ease. So we ease out and ease in. And the difference is this. See how it's slowed down a little bit towards the end, and it's slowly ramped up at the beginning. Subtle, but it does make the difference. So if I Control and S there are other things that we can do. I mean, we can select those two and go into a speed graph, but we're not going to do that in this one. Control and S, and that's where we want to do it. How easy was that? So now we're going to go back to Premiere Pro, and this is now here. And we've taken out the video, but the video is still playing underneath. So if we play it, let's just mute the music for now. And we go out. So what's left to do? Well, it's just simple for me. Put a fade. So I've selected the adjustment layer and the video below it and put a fade on it. So now the ending is good. I just want to do one more thing. And that is, you see how the white on here doesn't necessarily stand out too much until we get to black. I still want to keep white, but I'm going to come back here. I could actually do this in here, but I'm going to do it in here. And I'm going to add a drop shadow. And to do that, just like we added a stroke, we come back to Effects and Presets and search for drop. And now we have a drop shadow. Okay, I'm going to drop the drop shadow on here. And you can't see that because we're on black. Another good and handy way as to why we've kept this video in. So now we can see that the D pops out a little bit more, but not great. It's a little bit, well, there's not really much style to it. So remember what we've done before with drop shadow. Take the opacity all the way to 100. I'm going to increase the softness. I think that's about enough for me. The distance is perfect. Obviously, if we took the distance here, we could move it around. And look, the only shadow that's being cast is what's currently written. If I move along, I mean, that could be the effect that you're going for. But what I want is, I want it further and closer, not further. I'm going to hide this track again, Control and S, come back out. You see how it pops a little bit more there. And as we go, drive the dream. And the last thing I want to do is, just as we're fading out there, from that point, I want to move this to the center. And rather than doing that in here, we can do that in here. And all I want to do is just keyframe that position. I'm going to right click that and ease out. I'm then going to get to the end of the clip there, maybe a couple of frames later. And I'm going to get up my safe boundaries, and I can see that it's not in the center. I'm not going to get any anchor points here because this effectively is just a video clip because it's being fed in from here. So I'm just going to eyeball this, and I'm just going to bring that down just a little to there. It creates another keyframe, and I'm going to ease in. And that's it. And just as that happens, we've got this fade out here, and I'm going to get this to fade out the same way. So I've added a cross dissolve on the end there. Don't forget, that's my default transition. And just as that starts to fade out, We're going to fade that out. I've done that all without listening to it because I can see in the waveform. Let me put an out there and put an in there. And you know what I do? I like to pre-render. And then, oh, I can't wait for this. I think this is going to look really good. Don't forget, we've just done the write-on effect here with this, but this includes the content-aware fill that we've used to hide the car initially. Then we've teased it back with opening up the actual pre-comp that we sent over to After Effects and to reveal the layer below, which we duplicated from. We've then added a few glitch effects from Premiere Composer, which come with the sound effects as well to really sell that effect. And then we've got everything coming in with the Drive the Dream. You know what might be the real pièce de résistance before we get there? I want to look for some sound effects, and I'm searching for Scribble. Let's see how this sounds. Preview. That might work. Do you know what? I've just thought about it because I thought, you know, we're selling the effect with the glitches and all that. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this down as well. The writing. I don't know. I could probably look through and maybe find another one, but no, this is the one I want. Writing, and I know it's going to be a motion array. If I come down to the bottom, writing, I'll have a number of them. It was the first one I liked. By the way, these are all, if I tilde this, this is probably like the first one, the second one, the third one. So any kind of sound effects like this, and sometimes with the music, I'll give you different versions, but this is the one I want. I'm just going to drag it down, and that looks like it's timed perfectly. I can see where it ends. Yeah, that might be just a real happy accident. Let's make this bigger. I would tilde it, but I want you to see all the different things as they come in as well. And let's have a watch and a listen. I'm just going to put a fader. Just got to fade it in. Are you ready? Sit back and enjoy. What couldn't we hear? Couldn't hear the scribble, could we? Wasn't loud enough. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get to here and I'm just going to drag this up a little bit. That should sort that, but I don't really like the animation of this wording. I think with that movement, we also need to scale it up a little bit. So I'm just going to do that, and bring in these safe boundaries again. I'm just going to scale it up just a little, move it down. That looks about center, and I'm going to use them both like this. So I'm just going to ease out and select them both, the position and the scale, and ease in. I'm just going to drag it out just a little bit, just so it takes a little bit longer to come out. Let me just check that scribble again. Maybe I want to, what do I want to do? Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave that on there because that's sound effects. I'm going to go to my audio track and track 1. Remember, we've used this before. Our Unimule, Alex Audio Butler. This is music. And Unimule, this is sound effects. Double click the music. I want the target volume as, let's say 3, because it can always be turned up, the master. Medium ducking, and I'm going to get the sound effects and auto ducking. No, I don't want any auto ducking. I'm going to leave the target volume as 4 because I want them to stand out of the music. That's good. Let me hear the scribble. Done. Now you could have done that manually over a certain amount of time and keyframed all the sound, but that's just done it. Right. Enjoy. Drive the dream. Love it.